Okay, I don't know what went wrong with my camera, but I just recorded the process of making this English muffin recipe, and for some reason no volume whatsoever was on the film, so I deleted it, and I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of recap what I did. In a small pan, I put in 1 cup of milk, 1 tablespoon of butter, and a tablespoon of malt syrup. And I use an organic brown rice malt syrup as my sweetener. You can use honey or sugar or the malt syrup. It's all your preference. This is an English muffin recipe, and this is authentic. Okay, you put those 3 items, 1 cup of milk, 1 tablespoon of butter, and the tablespoon of your choice of sweetener, into a pot. Bring it to a simmer. Okay, just warm it up to about 120, between 120 and 130 degrees. Then you want to cool it down by placing it into another dish. Pour it off into a glass bowl or something. Cool it down to 120 degrees and add your yeast. Let it sit for about 10 minutes until it gets foamy and frothy. In another bowl, you want to add 2 cups of flour, 1 cup of all-purpose unbleached, 1 cup of unbleached bread flour, and a half a teaspoon of salt. Mix those 3 items together real well. After about 10 minutes, your yeast should be cool enough and frothy. You want to dump all your flour into it directly and vigorously stir it together. Once you get everything incorporated, cover the bowl with plastic wrap, then place a towel over the top of it and push it to the side on the counter in a space that's not going to bother you, and let it set overnight. Do not refrigerate this dough. You want this to sit here, and basically it's going to sour. This will more than double in size, and that's what you want. That's what creates this sourdough effect. By allowing it to sit out at room temperature, the milk and everything, and the yeast and everything, the yeast basically stops reacting once it overproofs. It will more than double in size, and then once it reaches its capacity, it will collapse in on itself. Okay? And at that time, which will be tomorrow morning, because you cannot make this all in one step. You cannot make this dough and then let it sit for a little while and then make your English muffins. They will not be authentic English muffins. You can do what you want to, but if you skip this overnight step, you've basically made something other than authentic English muffins. But anyway, you let them sit here overnight. It's perfectly safe. There will be no bacteria that you have to worry about or anything like that. In the morning, you want to take your towel off, take your plastic wrap off, and then you're going to start to form your English muffins, and I'll show you that in the morning. I was going to explain part of the process, but I'd probably lose it if I'm not actually showing it to you while I'm explaining it. It's a whole lot easier for me to do it that way, and probably a little easier for you to understand and follow. So I'll do that. I'm not trying to treat y'all like kids or anything like that. It's just this is kind of a weird process for a lot of people, but it's really simple, and this is like those dinner rolls. You're not going to find English muffins any better than this. If you buy them in the stores or anything like that, Thomas's English muffins are the only ones that come close to it, but you know, we're doing this in a home environment. This recipe makes approximately 6 English muffins and you can easily double this, or you can cut it in half. The measurements are, you know, pretty much straightforward, where it makes cutting the recipe or doubling the recipe very simple. Okay, so I'll see y'all in the morning when we go to make these rolls. Okay, here we got our cast iron skillet, ungreased. This is just well seasoned. I've got a plate with cornmeal on it. This is white, just plain cornmeal, no additives to it. We have a spatula here. Here's our dough product. It has risen. It filled this bowl up yesterday within an hour, and then it collapsed. Oh man, you can smell that. It smells like beer. That smells wonderful. Alright, so then what you do is you just kind of stir it just a little bit, just to kind of deflate it. Once you've done that, you just kind of eyeball it. To get out, try to make 6 equal portioned muffins. Put them into the cornmeal like so. You kind of move it around a little bit. It is going to be a little sticky, but that's the price you pay for what you want. Then you want to get the spatula underneath it. And flip it over. Get the spatula back under it. Then you can flip it up into your hand and just kind of pat it out till you get all the excess cornmeal off of it, because you don't want all that cornmeal on it. Just kind of slightly move it around in your hands to shape it. And then place it in the grill or your pan. And you see how I've shaped it kind of round. Okay. You do that with the rest of it. Just kind of eyeball your size that you want. It's sticky, but it's not sticky to the point to where it's not, where you're unable to handle it. Let me put it that way. And this skillet, the size of this skillet, you don't want to crowd these. You want to give them a little bit of room on each side. But just place them in the bottom of the skillet like so. You can do 3 at a time with this size skillet. Okay, you got 3 of them done here. Just go ahead and cover your dough back up. Doesn't have to be totally covered, just want to cover it up, try to keep it from drying out from the air. Alright, now we've got 3 of them into the skillet. Now you want to put, if you've got a glass lid so that you can watch them, you want to put a glass lid on top of them. Just like so. And you want to let them sit for 20 to 30 minutes. And this is a resting period and a secondary proofing. They won't proof up as big as normal rolls would because most of the yeast has already activated. There's just a very little bit of life left in the yeast right now. Most of it went to sour. And so now you just let them rest for 20 to 30 minutes just to relax the dough again, because of all the handling that I just did with it, you know, deflated it. So just let them rest for 20 to 30 minutes and then come back and set your stove on the 2.5 to 3 setting if you have an electric stove. That's like medium to medium low. And if you're using an electric grill or anything of that sort, you'll have to proof them somewhere else and then put them on the grill afterwards. You'll want to preheat your electric grill roughly around 300 degrees. So if you've got a surface thermometer, that would be a big help. But anyway, we'll be back in the next process. Okay, it's been 30 minutes. Remove the glass top. I've preheated my stove eye. Back this up so you can see it. Alright, we're back. I just flipped one of them. You can see it's nice golden brown. These smell wonderful, man. It smells like a brewery in here. Okay, you see the color on that. It's not overdone on the outside there. Now we'll let that cook for another 10 to 20 minutes. That first side actually cooked for about 18. This will probably take a little bit less. But you can see I'm guessing you can see the size of them. They are approximately 3/4 of an inch high, maybe a little bit less than that, but they're the right size for English muffins. Alright, so we're going to let that go for another 10 to 15 minutes and we'll be back for the finished product. Okay, the first batch is done, and I've just removed them from the stove eye, and I'm just going to let them sit for a couple minutes. I've already taken the liberty to make up the last of those that were in that bowl, and I put them in this skillet, put it on the preheated stove eye. These are, that's what they look like. Now you have to understand, these are not commercially produced, so they're not going to look just like Thomas's English Muffins or anything. They're going to be slightly different. They're going to be not shaped quite as pretty as theirs. Theirs are always exactly the same, and that's because everything is done using an extruder, and they have round molds on the pans that they press them out onto. You know, so, but I guarantee you this is every bit as good, probably even better. Now you want to let these, after you've cooked them, you want to let them cool before you try to cut them open and eat them. The reason for that is the dough inside is still going to be slightly moist, and until they cool to room temperature, they're going to have a slightly moist feeling on the inside. So you want to let them cool off completely so that the heat is completely gone from them, and then you want to fork split these in order to get the nooks and crannies to show up. If you cut these with a knife, you're just going to have a flat piece of bread, just like you would if you cut a fresh loaf of bread. The whole technique behind the nooks and crannies of an English muffin is that they are pulled apart and not sliced. Alright, I'll be back in a few when these have cooled down. Okay, we're back. Got the last ones in the skillet there. And now we're going to cut one of these bad boys open. Okay, see, I've got a fork here. What you want to do is take your fork, place it on the center of the side, and just push it in. And pull it out. Push it in, pull it out. Just go around it in that manner, pushing it in and pulling it out all the way around. Push it in as far as the tines will go, and it's usually about to the center. Okay, then just take it and with your hands pull it apart, and you see you got the nice nooks and crannies. Okay, at this stage you toast them. There we got one slathered in butter. My favorite way, strawberry preserves. Oh man. Mm. That will definitely make you slap your mama. Well, hope y'all enjoy it. One thing I forgot to mention is that if y'all aren't real partial to the heavy, yeasty kind of aroma that comes from the sourdough type English muffin, you can, uh, instead of using a whole cup of milk, you can use a half a cup of milk and dilute it with a half a cup of water. And that will lessen the almost beer type smell, the fermentation that you're going to smell when you start to make these. So if you're not real partial to that heavy sourdough kind of aroma and taste, then just dilute your liquid. Just substitute a half a cup of the milk with a half a cup of water, and that'll lessen that very, very rich yeasty odor when you make these. Anyway, that's it. Hope y'all enjoy it. I know I am. Mmm. That's the sound of goodness.